Hi, Pastor Nathan with your hashtag Better Together devotion for today. And this week I've decided to focus on numbers because there's so many of them in the Bible and so much symbolism, some of which we understand and some of which we really don't have a clue. For example, if you're like me and you're a bit of an insomniac, you have trouble getting to sleep, I highly recommend chapter 5 out of the book of Genesis. It's one of those chapters, especially if you go back to the old King James language, where it says so-and-so begat so-and-so and lived so many years, and so begat so-and-so when he was this years old, and on and on and on, and there's just name after name after name and the number of years that they lived. And you begin at some point in your faith journey going, why is this important, God? Why on earth is this in the Bible? I mean, come on, there's so much other things that could be more important than how many years Methuselah lived, 969 or something. I mean, do we really need to know this stuff? Well, some of the symbolism that might have been there within Genesis chapter 5 probably didn't get passed down through the ages in the same way that other things did. Does that mean Methuselah didn't live 969 years? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I wasn't around, and I didn't have a stopwatch or a calendar there for you. But what I do know is this, is that when you look at somebody like Enoch, Enoch is somebody who's described as walking with God, someone who has a deep, close relationship with God. And the fact that the number of years that he lives is 365. Now, that number should spark to you at a modern ear as, oh, wait a minute, I've heard that number before. Well, most of us realize that that's the number of days on our calendar because our calendar is based on the solar, the time it takes for the Earth to kind of zip around the sun. And 365, somewhere, somehow, Enoch must have been connected to the sun, and there must have been symbolism there that we have just missed. If we're not careful within the biblical tradition and within the biblical storytelling that we do as the church today, we will miss the symbolism in other places, in other genealogies. Take Matthew's Gospel's beginning in chapter 1. It has this wonderful, wonderful place of talking about Jesus's genealogy traced through Joseph, strangely enough. But anyway, it's a genealogy that's tracing down, and it goes to great lengths. In fact, it abuses the calendars, if you will, in the years of generations to force certain symbolism numbers. It forces there to be 14 generations between Abraham and David and 14 generations between David and Joseph. You know, this idea of 14 being important, because if you listened yesterday, you know that 7 is important, and anytime we multiply things, that just doubles it up. It's, oh, this isn't just good, this isn't just complete, this is really good, really, really good, this is good. 7 times 2, that's 2 sevens, that's good. So Matthew's gospel presents the genealogy and kind of forces it to do this good thing. But there's also interesting aspects within that genealogy too. There are 4 women mentioned. Some of them are named, some of them are just kind of mentioned as the wife of so-and-so, but they're anticipating the question that the reader might have about Mary. You know, Mary's the 5th woman in Jesus' genealogy. You've got Tamar and Bathsheba, you've got Rahab, and you've got Sarah, and then you've got Mary. Something's different about all these women, something unique, something happens within the stories. And I encourage you to do some Google work, do some Bible work, and go and look through that genealogy and unpack what God was doing in our midst. It'll help us understand that even in our own lives, no matter how difficult, no matter how much we struggle, no matter how much we're going through, we can know that God is among us and God is doing some good stuff. Might even go back to our own ancestry and look at our own genealogies and places we've been and begin telling stories, hearing the stories, because if we don't tell the stories, they disappear. And the symbolism behind the numbers, it too disappears. Focus on where you've been and where you're going with God today, and find you'll be better together. Amen.